Hello, this is the recording for week 6. This week the reading is chapter 10, using macros, controls, and Visual Basic with Excel. Unit 6 discussion is talking about the features you could use in a chart to show the current week's growth of a stock. Explain why you would create a chart sheet. When should you use a line chart, a pie chart? When should you use an XY scatter chart? Initial is due Wednesday. 2 replies are due by Sunday. At least 1 APA reference with in-text citation and at least 100 words in your initial post. The week 6 assignment is in 2 parts, so you only have the 1 assignment. It's due Sunday. It's over Chapter 10, Lab 1, Automating a Savings Calculator. In part 1, you are to add the Developer tab. You do that by clicking on File, Options, Customize tab, and then you check for on the Developer. And if it's not on this side, you can add it. I already had it added, so I don't know if it was originally. I can't remember. But if it's over here, then you find it. And then you just add it over there. And if it won't let you, you might have to create a new group or a new tab. It should be easy, though, to just check it. And then once you have the developer, then you can enable macros by going to the Developer tab, clicking on Macro Security, and enabling all macros. I already have it enabled, so. Then we're to, and of course you click OK after you've enabled it. Then you're to open the 10-1 Community Credit Workbook, and then you're going to save it as an Excel macro-enabled workbook. So for instance, this is that file. You go File, Save As, choose where you're going to save it, and then you'll see it's just right now an Excel workbook. So you click the down arrow and go macro-enabled workbook. And I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to make changes. I just wanted you to see how to do it. And then you're going to name it Lab 1, Part 1, Community Credit Complete. Now you're going to turn in 2 files this time, so don't turn this file in until you've done both parts. Then you're going to insert a command button. And to do that, you go to the Developer tab, Insert, and Command button. And then you just draw it where you want it. Then you can click Properties, and you'll have the ability to change the things. Like the caption, it says to put Enter Savings Data. Whoops. Then it wants you to change the font. And you click this little arrow and it gives you the box to change the font. And remember, they're in alphabetical order. So you just scroll down. Oops, I went too far. Lucinda Sand, Lucid Sands. So, and then 9 point. Okay. And say OK, and you'll see it put it in there. Then you look for Print Object, and you make that false. And then Word Wrap, you make true. And then once you're done with that, you can just close that. So that takes care of that part of it. Now with the command button still selected, you're going to press, it says to press and hold, but just right click it. And you're going to go to View Code. And in this section, you're going to add the code that's given in the directions. And I copied it out bigger so that you can see. So you see you're going to put this is all comments. You're going to put the comments in, and then in between the private sub and in sub, you're going to type this in. Make sure you don't put extra spaces or anything that's not there. And you really cannot copy and paste, because for once it was a picture, and you don't want to add anything that's not there, so you're going to have to type it out. And then when you get done, it'll look like this. It'll be inside the private sub, and your comments will be above it. Now I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to open the part 1 and oops. And this is what happens after you enter the code. When you click on the button, it asks you to enter each of the amounts. And you'll put in the amounts that it tells you to, 2,500, 150, and 2.5. That will give you a results. You see, currently, it's got zeros. So once you put in the amounts, so let's do the first one. Okay, it was 250. And then it was 150, and then it was 2.5. And when you say OK, you see it filled that all in. But when you click that again, it'll start over. So before you go on to the next part, I want you to use the snipping tool. It tells you to print, but instead of printing, let's use the snipping tool, and you can do that by clicking on the search and just searching for the snipping tool. And this is what it looks like. When you want to take a screenshot, then you just go around whatever you want to take a screenshot of. So for our first one, you would just take, oops, wrong one. You would just take a screenshot with the snipping tool of this, and then add a worksheet and paste it. And then do the second set of numbers. So see, that was A, and then you do B, so that you have 2 sheets, and they'll have different numbers. And that's using the snipping tool. I really like it because you can select what you want. Otherwise, when you do print screen, you get a lot. But let's say we did a, whoops, wrong one, a print screen. I'll do a print screen and show you. Then you would just paste it into Paint, and then you could use the selection tool to just select and copy, and then you would go into your worksheet and paste it. And that's 2 ways of doing that. Because if you print it, then there's no way for you to turn that document in, so there's no point in doing that. Okay, so then it tells you to print your Visual Basic Code, but instead of doing that, go to the Developer tab, click View Code. Of course, oh, I guess I used the wrong one, so hang on. Yeah, this one should have code. Oh, here it is. So what you do with the snipping tool is you just take a screenshot of that, go back to your file and just paste it in there. And if you do it on an extra sheet, so you would do it on an extra sheet rather than on the same one. And that's how you would do your screenshots. And that's how I can check your code. And then once you've done that, once you've displayed your code, you need to disable macros. And to do that, you go into the Developer tab, go back to Security, and disable all of them. I'm not going to do that because I'm not finished. And then you're going to protect the worksheet. You do that by going to the Review tab, Protect the Worksheet. Remember, you enter the code that it gives you, Community, and it'll ask you for it again. And you type it in again. Then you save that workbook, and you're going to submit that one after you finish with Part 2. Now for Part 2, I'm going to get rid of these because I made changes and I don't want those changes. So, whoops. We'll open Part 2 and Part 1 because you'll have to add the button. Okay. So this is how Part 1 is. It's got the macro and everything. So first you're going to save it as again a macro enabled workbook, but it's already, of course, that already. And then you're going to name it Part 2. You're just going to change it to Part 2. You're going to unprotect it, and then you're going to go to the Developer tab, and you're going to add, instead of adding a command button, you're just going to add instead of adding an active X button, a command button, you're going to add a regular button. And you do basically the same. And when this comes up, you cancel it. Then you right click it and you edit text. So to edit text, let's see what it said to do. Copy results. And then if you highlight this text, go to the Home tab, you can change the font and the size because it doesn't have the property like the other button did. And then okay, so where are we? Okay, so we've done all that. We've changed all that. Oh, I know what's wrong. This is pointing to the wrong one. It should be pointing to that one. Okay, so next we're on number 5, to enter design mode. And design mode, remember, is again on the Developer tab. You click that and that's design mode. And you're going to select both of the tabs. Holding Control and clicking the other one will select both of them. Then if you go under your drawing tools, then you can change the height and the width of both of them at the same time. And then you just line them up so that they look pretty similar. And that's how you do that. Then you're going to exit design mode, and you're going to create a macro. And to do this macro, we're just going to click, so it's in the developer tab, click run record macro, and we're going to name it copy result. And let's see, I'm going to name this 2 because I think I already have one. And then it says control, and it's supposed to be control shift V. So if you hit shift V, it'll put it in there. And we're going to save it in this workbook, and then you're going to put your name down at the description. And when you say OK, oh, okay, so we have to delete the macro. I know what I'll do. I'll close that, and then I'll go to the View tab, and I'll view my macros, and I don't have any, so because I closed that other one. So now I'll go back, and I'll record the macro. So if you don't get it the first time and you want to do it again, just delete the first one. Otherwise, it'll give you that error. Okay. Now when you do that, it says stop recording because it's recording whatever you do. So you're going to highlight from A4 to D19. Then you're going to copy that. You're going to add a worksheet, and then you're going to use paste, keeping the column width. Now if you get this error, just say OK, and don't worry about the blue lines, that doesn't matter. And then you're going to go back to the developer tab and stop the recording. That finishes your recording, but you still need to add the macro to the button. So you right click the button and assign a macro, and we'll choose our copy result, and we will assign it so that when we click it, it's going to create a new sheet. See, it created a new sheet and it pasted it, and you see that it still has the copy mark, so you just hit escape to get rid of those. And that's how you do that. So just ignore that error. I don't know why we're getting that. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so then you want to test your copy results. Make sure you get one. Then you're going to disable the macros again. Remember, that's macro security on the developer tab. You're going to protect the worksheet with the same password community. You're going to save the workbook, and you're going to submit it along with part 1. Now I went in there to show you. You go into the assignment, you browse for part 1, but don't submit it. You browse then for part 2, and that's how you submit 2. Then just omit 13. This is pretty complicated. We don't really need to do that question. That's all for this week. If you have any questions, please let me know.